Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Knights Talk. I'm your host, Rob Leonard, and it's very sadly to say that this is going to be the season finale, the wrap up show for this past Knights of Meaford hockey season. And I've got some great company along with me today. I've got my broadcast partner, my buddy Spencer Byers, along with me. Spencer, how you doing?
I'm all right. It's disappointing that the season ended the way it did, but I all in all, Rob, I think you and I can agree it was a great season in the end for Meaford. So it's a bit bittersweet end to it, but I think you and I can highlight some of the definitely the bright spots this season.
Yeah, the first half of the season, I believe they were well above 500. I think they were 13 and 9, I believe, at the Christmas break. But and you and I both agreed. That team was really entertaining to watch. I can't think of one game where I would say that we weren't entertained. It was great hockey coming from the Knights.
Yeah, absolutely. No, they had a great year. They did in the end, especially starting. They played a lot of teams. They played a lot of the good teams close. Like I can specifically remember when I believe you and I did the Miskiming game where it was 12-7. And Temiskaming had lost one game to that point, and it was to Ville Marie. And we played Temiskaming, and you and I kind of thought Temiskaming has lost one game all year. They've rolled everybody else, so this could get bad early. And Meaford to their right, 12-7 is not a good score line, but they played them close, at least relatively close. So, watching a game like that against easily the best team in the GMHL made you feel like, Meaford was a really good team. And, even earlier, they had some really good wins against some of the top teams, and they always played the Rattlers close and the Bulls close. So, that way it was an amazing season for them.
And it was the balanced scoring coming from throughout the entire lineup. All four lines were involved at some point. As I said in the show earlier this year, you could have 7 goals in a game from the Knights and have 6 or 7 different goal scorers. And it seemed like there was a different hero every night stepping up for the Knights. Again, lines 1 through 4.
Yeah, absolutely, Rob. No, because you talk about the stats, and I think about it like I think the leading scorer was Badura, and he only had 47 in 47. So it was a really well balanced team. You had Kaz, I think, was the leading goal scorer with I think it was 21 in the end.
Yeah.
But you had Hugo who had a stretch of games where he scored I think 4 or 5 goals in about 4 or 5 games at home, especially on the power play in that setup where they go. I'll say it was Korochenko, but they had somebody on the far side, basically the bottom. They'd pass it right beside the net. It was Kaz. Kaz would fly it to the slot right where Hugo was. Hugo would just rip it. And I swear they scored 2 goals in one game in one basically that same sequence in about a 2 minute span. And it was amazing to watch because they did it not once but twice. And it was just their play, and it worked amazingly the entire year. But no, you say amazing job by them to be able to roll the four lines and have even some of the smaller guys like Riley LaValle always gave you a good shift, always was a hardworking player, and they had a lot of guys like that this year, and it was a really big improvement from I'd say 2 years ago when we had our last season.
And you're talking about a guy like Riley Lavalle, 17 years old, playing up against a lot of 20 and 21-year-olds in the league. And he did a great job, not just on the ice, but he filled in, helping out on the Rogers broadcast a couple of times. And, Gavin Mccutcheon, goalkeeper for the Knights, stepping in and filling in when you or myself couldn't make it to a game. So, multi-talented team there. Let's take a look at the goaltenders. Gavin McCutcheon, another 17-year-old from Mississauga, just a young fella. Unfortunately, won't be back next season. He's heading off to university in Texas. So, I was talking with his dad there just a couple of games near the end of the season. He said that Gavin was heading off to Texas, but he did a game as a play-by-play announcer and did a great job.
Yeah, no, I want to mention the starting goalie for the Knights for basically almost the second half on was Dan Sultanoff, and he was fantastic. His save percentage at the end of the year was 933, and early in the season, you and I were talking about how his save percentage was around the 880 mark, 890 mark, and you and I openly admitted that is not reflective of him. He has been fantastic since he started playing, and that continued the second half of the year, and he was the goalie in both playoff games. And you know, he was a massive boost to the team. It again upsetting the way it ended, but he was a massive bright spot for the Knights of Meaford, especially the latter half of the year.
Yeah, absolutely. Dan Sultanoff was the story in the second half of the season. So now let's talk about that second half of the season. Extended Christmas break. The final game was on December 19th, and we expected to be back in the booth. I guess it was the 3rd of January we were supposed to be back. And of course, with the lockdown, we did not get back to it until I think February 3rd, another month later. And in that second half, the Knights went 7-7. They played 500 hockey over that last half, but they finished off the season with 4 straight losses. They had 4 games in 4 nights. They played against Temiskaming in the first game at home. Actually, Mark, do we have the highlights from? No, I'm sorry. No, my mistake. Wrong highlights. But anyway, starting off against Temiskaming, losing at home 5-1, I believe it was. But then they had to go into Ville Marie and play a set of games against Ville Marie, very important in the playoffs. Then the following night, they had to get on the bus again and go to Bradford. So very tough final 4 games of the regular schedule.
Yeah, absolutely. When you play Temiskaming and Bill Marie, because they're so close together, you got to play them basically one night, and then the next night play against the other. It definitely was a rough trip, and Bill Marie was a team who peaked late, and that I think is the major difference here. I talk a lot about in sport peaking at the right time, and Meaford just peaked a little too early, and the break really ruined their momentum. Bill Marie was, I'll use the word, not very good at the beginning of the year. They beat Temiskaming. They were the only team till the end of the year to beat Temiskaming. And then they kind of went on a losing streak. Because I remember you and I did a game with them, and they were like 2-5 or 3-5-1. And you said, they beat Temiskaming, and I went, they beat the 8-1 Titans, and you said, yeah, they did. You don't know what they're going to get every night. They did, they're inconsistent. And obviously as the season went on, they were able to build a little bit more consistency, and they got 5th in the conference and played us in the playoff. But it was amazing for them to play against teams like that early and be able to beat them. But obviously, the massive break took a toll on them, and the momentum they had going into it. So that part is disappointing, but it happens. And I think this team's, I think in my opinion at least, is really looking really good going into next year with how well they played this year and what they showed this year, especially under the new head coach.
It was a big battle coming down to that final week of the season, and the positions 3 through 5 were still not decided. They had the Bradford Bulls, the Meaford Knights, and Ville Marie battling for those spots. Meaford could have finished anywhere from 3 to 5. They ended up finishing in 4th place, and they had to meet the Ville Marie Pirates in the first round of the playoffs, starting at home a week ago Thursday night. Mark, do we have the highlights from that game?
There's a rebound. Can he get a hold of it? Still loose in there. Where is it? Sultanoff is out of position. Oh my goodness. What a save, Dan Sultanoff. He doesn't have a stick. Oh, and scoring. Referees will not call that. Brian Laurie, look at the moves. Oh my goodness. Shot and scores.
We'll see who gets it. Garrettson shot it. We'll see if Garrettson ends up getting the credit.
But here comes Ville Marie. Here's Rashawn in all alone. Rashawn scores! A short-handed goal by number 22, Jordan Rashawn. Desperately need to get the puck into the Ville Marie zone. And they did, but the puck comes back out. And the puck's coming in, and that's going to do it. Ville Marie have drawn first blood in this.
Now, that was a very exciting game. Obviously, the Knights coming out on the losing end of a 2-1 decision. Ville Marie controlled the first period of that game. The Knights controlled the second period of that game, but then Ville Marie held on for that 2-1 victory in that game. Best 2 out of 3 in the first round. So Meaford not in a very good position after losing that first game at home. They would go to Ville Marie 2 nights later on the Friday night. In that game, they dropped a 6-5 overtime decision to Ville Marie. Now, Spencer, I'm not sure. I was able to watch the game on the internet, and the Knights built up a 4-0 lead in that game, in game 2. They were all over the Ville Marie Pirates. Then the Ville Marie coach, after the fourth goal, they chased goalkeeper Glasson to the bench after the fourth goal. The coach calls a timeout. I don't know what he said to his team, but it sure got them going again. They came out and scored 2 straight goals. The Knights would score another to lead 5-2 at the end of the second period, but you could just tell that the tide had changed. The ebb and flow of the game was so much in favor of Ville Marie. Ville Marie, I don't know, they put something extra in the water bottles, but they dominated Meaford for the rest of the way in that game. The Knights fell by a score of 6-5 in overtime. A disappointing season to what could have been a great year for the Meaford Knights.
Yeah, and that's kind of the main thing there, Rob, is they disappointed that they were up so much in the first game. I didn't know they were up 4-0 because I watched the beginning of the game. I saw Wass score, or Xavier Roy, pardon me, score, and then I missed the second period. I was driving, and then I got home. I checked the score, and I believe it was 5-2 or 5-3 in Meaford at that point. And I went, okay, well, I feel pretty good about this. I'm going to start planning for Sunday because I knew you or for I believe it would have been Tuesday or Wednesday. The next game would have been, and you weren't able to make it. So I had to make sure I got arrangements made for that game. Or it was Sunday. That's why it was a 1 o'clock game on Sunday. So I had to make arrangements. So I started putting out feelers to some friends of mine at school, like, hey, if there possibly is a game on Sunday, would you be able to attend? Obviously, that worked out too well in my favor, but it's disappointing the way I guess you said the way it ended. And I want to hit one thing as you mentioned in the first game. Normally, their second period was their best period. You and I mentioned that really early on in the year that they had amazing second periods. Like their first periods were decent. They weren't bad. They weren't losing. But the second period, they'd absolutely dominate. They almost have all the puck possession. They dominate their more pressing style. It was a really amazing second period. And if they were able to get a couple goals in it, they were almost always going to win. If they couldn't, that would be a little more interesting. Sometimes they didn't end up getting the goals, but their momentum from that second period was able to pull into the third, and then get a couple and they pull away. And that's one thing I did want to quickly mention though. That second period easily was their best period almost all year, Rob. And it's upsetting the way it ends, but I think it just shows that this team could make noise next year.
I'll tell you, I've been doing Knights hockey for a few years now well, I missed a year or two, but since 2015-16, that was arguably one of the best teams in Knights history. But this season with the GMHL, for me, was probably some of the best hockey I've seen from GMHL. They had their expansion teams that come in and they were absolute thumpings, like 19, 20 goals in a game or something. But there was none of that this year. Every game, every team that came in, even the last place, Almaguin Spartans, they came into town and they gave us a good show. So it was good, entertaining hockey all around. My heart goes out to all the Knights players and to the coaching staff and everybody. They didn't get the rewards they deserved. They had a great season. Head coach Patrick Drolet in his first season did a great job with that team. General manager Nathan Parrish on the bench with them. And Patrick Drolet gave special thanks to head scout Danny Smith and to assistant coach Keegan Bradley for bringing in the players that they were able to bring in to help to make his job easier. So hats off to the entire Knights coaching staff and to the players. And thank you so much to them for giving us a great season of hockey.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I hats off to them. They had a great year, in the end. Obviously it didn't end the way they wanted it to, 2 losses in the playoffs, losing technically 6 in a row in the end. Definitely not the way you want to end your season. But, They had a great start to it. The extra long Christmas break definitely took a lot of wind into their sails, and that's disappointing. But you can't take away from how good they were this year, how consistent they were this year, the effort they put in. And that's something you know you can't take away from Robin. I think you'll agree with me. The effort was always there. You never felt like you weren't getting a Meaford team that was trying, that was giving it their all, and that's something I admired, and I want to respect them for that. I thank them for that because sometimes I think you can admit, Rob, sometimes a broadcast is really hard when you see one team not really trying. Like you talk about the score lines and how every team was trying. So every team didn't want to lose by 20 goals because this wasn't, they had some pride in it. You know what I mean? So I'm happy the Meaford Knights came every night, and I truly appreciate them giving the effort that obviously the game deserves, but just giving the effort because it showed in the standings, 21 wins, fourth in the standings, a top team in the GMHL, and I hope they are next year.
They did a fantastic job. And Spencer, I want to tell you honestly, it was a pleasure working with you this year. Actually, at the start of the season, when Mark told me I was going to be working with you, I was very happy with that, and had a great season working with you. Look forward to hopefully doing it next year. Who knows what's going to happen over this summer? Maybe we'll get to do something else together again. I would welcome that and I thank you so much. You're a professional. You're down in Mississauga going to school, and you're doing a great job. This is what you're taking, isn't it, with the broadcast?
Yeah, yeah. Take a little selfishness here in the last episode. Yeah, I go to the College of Sports Media, which is downtown Toronto. I actually have to go to class right after this recording, so I have to rip downtown and do like a class. But yeah, I'm taking specifically sports broadcasting, which is in the name. Thank goodness. Um, and I do a bunch of different types of classes. I do radio broadcasting, TV broadcasting, TV editing, radio editing, writing for both. I do other classes like my new media course, which is kind of interesting. It's a writing course, so I do what Greg Cowan technically does. So it's really entertaining, and I really enjoy doing it. And yeah, Rob, I hope to be a professional at what we were doing this year. But I do hope to be able to do some games next year with whatever my schedule looks like, because I know they do a lot more shows in my next semester once that year two comes around. But no, I really enjoyed the season, Rob, with you. It was really fun, and again, the Meaford Knights had a great year, which even made it more enjoyable that we were able to do some more wins, than a mediocre team. We did a really good team this year, which was really nice.
That's right. Much respect to you, sir, and thank you so much. All right. Excuse me. I always have to cough at least once a show. Anyway. Okay, that's going to wrap up the first half of the show. Again, Spencer Byers, thank you so much, and all the best to you. And hope to see you around the rink in Owen Sound sometime this summer. So we're going to get ready now for the second half of the show. And I'm going to be speaking with the billet coordinator for the Knights of Meaford hockey, Kathy Adams, and she's brought her along a couple of friends, Jason Akers and Jen Schultz. We're going to have a great conversation with them. We're going to talk all about billets and how you can become a billet family. Kathy Adams, welcome to the show. Kathy, a very familiar face around the Meaford St. Vincent Community Center with the Meaford Knights. She wears many hats. If you look closely into the timekeeper's bench at each Knights home game, you'll see her in there too. So, but Kathy, your main job with the Knights is billet coordinator. Tell everybody what exactly your job entails.
Thanks, Rob, for having us today. My job is actually to find bed space for all of the players that come to join our team. We require about 30 beds per season for players that come. Players from around the world, actually, US, Canada, Sweden, Switzerland, Denmark, Czech Republic. We've actually had a player from Thailand here, quite a good representation around the globe. And we are looking for people to act as hosts for the players while they're here.
Okay. Now, and you know what? That is such a super important job, especially in the GMHL when, well, I'd say about 100% of the players on the Knights this year come from either, well, I don't know if there was a lot from Ontario. There may have been one or two, but a lot of the players, as you said, come from all across the country into the United States, well represented from Europe as well. So very important that these players have a place to stay in a good, safe environment and that kind of thing. So, and sitting beside you, Jen Schultz. Jen, you were a Billet parent, Billet mom. Was this your first year doing it?
This is my first year. Yes.
And tell us about the experience. Well, you can tell us what player got to stay with you and how that experience went for you.
I had Hugo, not sure of his last name, from
Sultanoff.
Sweden.
Yeah.
Yes. And Mattis from Quebec. Both of them were a pleasure to be around all the time. I thoroughly enjoyed my time that they spent here with me.
And it certainly can be a very positive experience, not only for the player, but for yourself. And it certainly, when you're sharing your home with anyone, really, it certainly makes life a lot easier, when you're getting along with and you've got good people like Hugo and the other gentleman that you mentioned. So let's talk about your daily duties. Did the players mainly take care of themselves, or are there certain things that you needed to do?
Everybody said I spoiled them.
So the mom kicks in, right?
Yeah. I got up in the morning and I would plan what I was going to have for dinner that night and maybe start it. They usually slept till 10 minutes before they were to be at the arena.
Wow.
And, I tried to whip something up quick and hand it to them on their way out the door to have something for them to eat for breakfast. Then they come back and they'd putter around downstairs and we'd have dinner, and they were both a pleasure to have in the house.
Well, and also, the fact that I'm sure you developed a relationship with their parents as well. I know as a parent and your child they're young men, but still they're your child. They're so far away, and there's this wonderful lady taking care of their sons. So, I would imagine you develop a good relationship with the parents as well.
I never talked with either of the parents. Either of the boys' parents. But my idea was I wanted to treat them like I would want my child treated if they were away with someone else. So that was how I treated them.
That's wonderful. All right. And we have another guest, a third person here, Mr. Jason Akers. Jason, how are you, sir?
Hi, Rob. How are you?
Always great to see you, my friend. Jason, again, you talk about the Meaford Knights family, and you and Kathy are two. I love everybody associated with the Knights, but you two folks, just wonderful people. And Jason, you've also worn many hats with the Knights over the years, but you've been a billet parent for a lot of years.
Yes, and that's how I got associated with the Knights, Rob, is by billeting. Actually, Kathy, I've known Kathy all my life, being born and raised in Meaford. I've known Mrs. Adams for a long time, but she approached my wife Heather and myself to be a temporary billet several years ago, and temporary we're still billeting to this day. We've had over probably around 30, 32 players throughout the years, and I'll tell you, each one of them comes with a story, and they're all real gentlemen.
And I know through you and I are friends on Facebook, so you get to see the interaction between your family and the players, and what a positive influence those players have been on your young family. I guess they're getting older now, but I mean, your kids basically having big brothers coming in each and every year.
Well, as Jen said, I do the same as Jen. Treat other people how you would like to be treated, or how you would like somebody to treat your kids. So yes, we post a lot of stuff on Facebook. We treat them like family. I mean, if we're going out for dinner, we take them with us. If we're going to the movies, we take them with us. If we're going to a family Christmas or a special occasion birthday, we take them with us. They are part of the family from the minute they walk in the door till the minute they're still family when they walk out. We've got relationships all over the world. Both my wife and children communicate with players every day of the week from 8, 9 years ago.
That's incredible. I know in the past few years, you always see see players coming back that had lived with you and your family. So, and just recently on Facebook, I guess you had Mathis Grennan staying with you. I think you took a picture from, I guess you must have went to a Barry Colts hockey game last week.
Yes, Mathis Agar, number 34 from Quebec, lived with us this year. He was a real gentleman. Yeah, we went to a Barry Colts game last Thursday night, and that was the first time any of us have been in the Barry Molson Center or the Sadlin Stadium.
That's fantastic, Jason. So, okay, back to Kathy. Kathy, I'm going to ask. We've been able to hear from the Billet parents what their responsibilities are. There is money that goes to the Billet parents. This is not for free.
That's right, Rob. The Billets, when they come, will pay $600 per month to live in a Billet home. The Billet home's responsibilities basically are to provide a bed for them and a dresser for their clothing, access to their laundry and their kitchen. The boys are responsible for getting their own breakfast and lunch, which generally transpires into one meal. As Jan said, they are up just a few minutes before they head out the door to the arena. And then they would join your family for the evening meal. That's your responsibility, is to prepare a hot meal on a daily basis, just to ensure that they provide that assistance to them and they get proper nutrition on a daily basis. We will provide the Billet home with the players' schedule on a weekly basis so that they can plan their meal planning and what schedule that the boys are on. And it really does provide more of a family atmosphere when you're able to have that meal with them on a daily basis as well.
Yeah, and make it easier on them as well. I guess in a lot of cases, it's the first time these guys these young men have left home. Some of the 16, 17, 18-year-olds, they haven't left home before. So, that one meal a day sitting around the table is a great time for people to connect. And as Jason said, including the players in all of his family activities, that has to make the players feel more at home and a lot more comfortable in the fact that they are that far away from home.
Well, I like to say that they arrive as boys and go home as men. We do have a great influence on their day-to-day life when they're here, both from the Billet perspective and from the coach perspective. And it's up to us to make sure that they get on that straight road. When the players come to us, it's a policy of our organization that they come fully vaccinated in today's environment. So there is a greater degree of safety for the Billet homes if they have any concerns in that area. Our season for billeting commences about mid-September, and they'll start playing games toward the end of the month of September. Our Billets will be provided with game passes to all our home games so that they're able to go and look after seeing their player perform and provide support to them. Happy to say that this will be our 10th year coming up this next season, and we're planning some 10th anniversary activities for the boys and for our community. So stay tuned for that announcement as it comes together.
Now, you spoke about the players that you're insist that they come vaccinated, which is absolutely. But your job must have been so difficult during this pandemic in order to, very difficult trying to convince someone to take a player from the United States, for example, whose numbers were going crazy. So it must have been a really tough time for you.
Absolutely, Rob. I've looked after this task for the team since they came to town, and this was my hardest season for finding billet homes. And I think anybody that's had that experience, as Jan said earlier, it becomes a great experience for the billet home. People are generally wanting to do it again, unless there's some reason that they have to step back from the program. But we're always welcoming additional billet homes. Sometimes, as you know, in the hockey industry, there are quick trades that are made. And all of a sudden today, I'm looking for an extra bed space somewhere. I like to be able to have another host family kind of in the background, that when you need to call somebody quickly, that they're there to fill in and help us with that task.
So a couple of years ago, I remember Nathan Parrish was the coach at that time, and he added on a few players right after Christmas. Did that create a bit of a you pulled your hair out a little bit on that one, or?
Well, the grays keep coming in, Rob, and I guess I have to thank the hockey team for a few of those.
Nathan's such a great guy. I'm sure he apologized profusely for that. So, but I think back over the years, and players that had graduated from the Knights, they aged out. But you always seen the players have always come back to say hello. It's so nice to see those old faces coming back to the rink. So that tells you that it was a positive experience for these players, and you see them connecting again with their billet parents. So has to be, no doubt in my mind, a very positive experience for everyone.
Well, it's a great experience actually, and it's nice to know that when they grow up, that there is a life after hockey for them, and it's nice to be part of their new life as they go through and make their own families and make their own way through life. We can still be part of that.
All right, that's fantastic, Kathy. As I've heard around the rink, what was that saying I heard this year? Oh, Kathy is the best. That's what I heard. Coach Patrick Drolet was heard saying that so many times going through the lobby at the arena. So, Kathy, thank you so much, and thank you. I know you do so much work for the Knights of Meaford, and you always keep that smile on your face. And Jen Schultz, thank you so much. You're going to be back as a billet parent next year?
I will be, yes.
All right, that's fantastic. And Jason Akers, my friend.
Hi, Rob.
I know
Can I say one thing before we move on?
Sure.
Something that wasn't brought up was I used to, when I billet, I would do 2 or 3 at a time. And it sounds kind of silly, but the more you do, the easier it is. Because sometimes you have to go to a meet the teacher parent interview or something, and you don't want to take the player with you. So the player's left at home. So if you have 1 or 2 or 3, the more you have, they look after themselves. You know what I mean? So does that make any sense, Kathy?
That's absolutely right. That's absolutely right. And they entertain one another.
Yeah. So anybody out there that's, entertaining, becoming a billet family, I would, if you have the room and you have the space, I'll tell you right now, 2 or 3 is easier than 1. And it's not a money thing. It's about having fun thing. And the more guys you can bring into your home, the better it is for everybody.
Well put, Jason. Thank you very much. And Kathy, how anybody interested in billeting, how do they get a hold of Kathy Adams?
Yeah, I was just going to say that, Rob. They can call me at 226-668-6359. My email is Kathy with a K .adams565@gmail.com. And I'd be happy to go and sit down with anyone who has questions. I quite regularly do that with new billet people, answer questions that they have about the logistics of the whole process, or just make that connection.
And I would imagine it's never too early to get your name in there and to, you know, makes your job a lot easier to have all of those spots filled by the time next season comes around. And it really does come fast.
Well, it's very helpful if we can have those people on board by June or July. When it comes down to August or September and we're down to the wire and we don't have enough places for them to stay, it becomes a very stressful process for everyone involved. But we don't like to cut players because we don't have bed spaces. So thankful for everyone in town that step up and help the team through the season.
All right. So thank you very much, Kathy Adams, Jen Schultz, and Jason Akers. Thank you so much for being on the show today, and good luck getting the billets. And I hope everybody has a great summer, and I look forward to seeing you all again in the fall. So as I said, this is the final episode of Knights Talk for this season. I want to say a few thank yous out there, in particular, producer Mark Perry. What a guy. If it wasn't for him, none of this would be possible. I have so much respect for that man. He hauls that crew stuff into the equipment into the building every Thursday night for Knights home games. He's been there since day one with the Meaford Knights and Rogers TV. Does a great job. As I said, my job is easy. I talk. Mark puts all the magic. He does all the stuff for Knights Talk as well. And all of the crew with Rogers TV Great County that are there again every Thursday night for Knights home games. That's going to be it. And I'm going to say sign off until next fall, and I hope to see everybody for Meaford Knights hockey on Rogers TV Great County. Take care, everyone, and we'll see you then.